Okay guys, this is the first kind of perspective projection question we're going to look at. Alright, the question asks us to draw the perspective view of the given steps, which is these ones here, the elevation, the plan of them, and the picture plane passing through the corner closest to the spectator. So point S is our spectator. Alright, this is going to be the closest point to it, so our picture plane is going to come across there. The horizon line is 40 millimeters above the ground line. So if you have a look at the worked example here, the ground line is this one here, and then the horizon line is a line that's at eye level that our two vanishing points go out to. So let's set up the question. The first thing we need to do is we need to get our field of vision. So how we do that is we join the points, our two most extreme points, back to our spectator. So we're just going to do that here. We can do that in light construction work. So that's our field of vision, and what we need to do is we need to get our line of vision now, which is bisecting this angle. So we're going to bisect the angle that we've created there with our two yellow lines in our field of vision. And then we're just going to run a line up through there. This is our center of vision, or line of vision. And then our picture plane, alright, our picture plane goes perpendicular to this. So once we've created our field of vision, bisected it to get that center line, we set up the picture plane perpendicular to that. So we're going to need our sliding set squares. We move the t-square out of the way. So our picture plane here has two constraints. One of them is that it's perpendicular to this orange line. The second one is that in this particular case it needs to be passing or contacting that corner. So I'm going to project the line over. I'm going to grab another marker here. And there's my picture plane. I'm just going to label it PP. Alright. What we need to do now is get our horizon line and our ground line. They need to be 40 millimeters apart from each other, and they need to be parallel to our picture plane. So again, we set up our sliding set squares. I'm just going to draw a line down here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set up my horizon line first. And then I'm going to measure 40 mil and set up my ground line from there. Ground line. So that is the setup for this question. We also now need to find our vanishing points, which if we look to our example up here, our vanishing points are where all these lines angle back to. And how we do that is we need to extend a line from our spectator, and it needs to be parallel to these two surfaces. So we're going to have two lines in this case. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to extend my picture plane, because I already know by looking at it it's not long enough. There we go. And like that, set up my sliding set squares, parallel to that surface, project it down to point S and bring it across to the picture plane. And we're also going to do the same for our second vanishing point, so it's going to be parallel to the other surface, and bring a line up till across the picture plane. So this line and this line are parallel. This line and this line are parallel. And then we're just going to highlight our two vanishing points. I'm going to call them VP1 and VP2. Now, our vanishing points should also get projected down to our horizon line. So again, all we're going to do is set up our sliding set squares again. We're going to project them down like you see being done here. Again, my horizon line needs to be extended a little bit. Once again, just label VP1 and VP2. Once you've got this done, we're going to drop this line here where the corner of the object touches the picture plane. We're going to drop that all the way down to our ground line. Again, it needs to be perpendicular to our planes. Down it comes. And we're going to join that back to our vanishing points. So there it goes back to VP1. And there it is going back to VP2. Now the importance of that blue line, alright, coming from this corner where it touches the picture plane, is that we can put our true heights of our object onto that line. So when it comes to measuring the height of each step, we can transfer them onto that line and bring them to our vanishing points. And let's just do that here now. So again, I'm going to go back to my yellow marker. And I'm just going to extend these lines so that I have an accurate measurement of them. Let's measure the first step. So I'm taking the height and I'm transferring it onto that blue line, my true length line. Going to repeat the process with the second step. And finally with the third step there. You'll note that the third step goes a little bit above the horizon line, and this is absolutely perfect. Okay, we do not need to worry about that. As the distance between the horizon line and ground line varies, okay, the drawings may or may not go above the horizon line. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to join those two lines, or sorry, those three lines, nice and lightly back to vanishing point 2. The reason I'm joining back to vanishing point 2 is I want to solve the elevation first, and the elevation is going to be on this side. Now the last thing, or not the last thing, the next thing we need to do is we're going to join our steps back to our spectator. So we've already done the widest point here. We're going to do these two as well. And this is the important step. This is where a lot of people make a mistake. We bring, where these lines come down and cross our picture plane is where we project it down into our perspective view. So let me just grab my what marker would go good there, the green one maybe. Alright, I'm going to set up my sliding set squares parallel to that blue line. Where this first step comes down and crosses the picture plane, I'm going to project it down. Likewise, where the second step comes down and crosses it, project that down. And where the final one does as well, project that down. And what you should start to see forming is a basic outline of the steps. So let me just slightly outline it here with the red. And then once we've done that, we're going to come along with our outline once we've got the drawing complete. So I like to kind of, again, still doing construction work, but slightly heavier outline the shape, just so you know what points you're working with, because we do get a lot of lines. So by slightly more defining the outer shape will leave life a little bit easier for you. We're also going to bring across this width here, and we need to drop that down onto the left hand side of the blue line. So again, I'm going to grab my green marker, line up with the blue true height line, and where our field of view line or corner comes down and crosses the picture plane, I'm going to project that down into my perspective. And now I know that the full width of my object is this here. Now we need to get obviously our couple of steps from our end view side. All we're going to do for that, the first thing I'm going to try and do this bottom step. At this corner here, on the first step, I'm going to join that back to vanishing point 1. And what that's going to give me is that front face. So let me just slightly outline that as well so that you can see it. That gives me the front step there. And from here we're doing a little bit of a crisscross game. This point is now going to join to vanishing point 2. And this corner is going to join to vanishing point 1. And where they cross is going to give me the top of that step. So let me just outline that. We can do the same thing with this corner, the corner of the second step, back to vanishing point 1. And then our other step here, or other riser, is going to be parallel to this one. So you can set up your sliding set squares, bring it across, and it's going to come up to that yellow line. And I'm sure you're probably getting the hang of it at this stage. Again, that corner comes back to vanishing point 2, and this corner comes back to vanishing point 1. We can outline that step. A little bit inaccurate there. That's better. And this top corner here is going to join back to vanishing point 1 as well. That's the one thing we need to be slightly careful of, is that that corner goes back to vanishing point 1. Some people are led to believe it goes back to vanishing point 2. So that should be our slightly more defined construction outline. And once you're happy with it, once it looks similar to this, once we've followed all the procedures, we're going to come along and outline it properly with your H pencil, because we're going to have a lot of lines here. It's very important to make sure that we emphasize which lines are construction and which lines are outlines, which ones we want to define as being the final solution. Again, it's going to be very important here as well that your construction lines are super light, because there's going to be a lot of lines here, and the more lines we have, the more messy the page is going to get. So by keeping our construction lines as light as possible, we're going to really improve the neatness of this drawing, which is going to get some extra marks when it comes to grading. So there is the final outline of our set of steps. I hope you can follow along with this. I know I'm through it pretty quick, but you can obviously slow it down and rewatch any sections that you are unsure of.